Venus and star blessings, everybody. I just want to talk a little bit to Pallas Athena. Where are we? So if we go to this chart here, Pallas Athena, there she is there, 0 degrees Scorpio. Okay, that takes place basically tonight. So in a few hours' time in Melbourne, Australia. It's a very, very interesting topic and very interesting times. My heart feels very heavy, to be quite honest, but my friend is at a protest in Melbourne right now as we speak, and this is one of the pictures she sent me. This paper just goes on and on and on and on. It's the names of all the people that have been killed in Palestine. Again, I'm not interested in creating division. Not interested in the politics and the religious aspects, but I am deeply interested in the unlawful acts of people being killed. That is not something that I can condone. Anyway, I think Pallas Athena going into Scorpio is pretty significant. So I'll speak to just a few points from a collective perspective. And then I'll just share some ideas from the perspective of our own personal chart. First of all, as we can see, there's still an intense passage of Scorpio planets. The sun is still there, Mars, that's Vulcan for those that don't know. Vulcan is a body that's usually used in esoteric astrology, so I'm not going to go into that for today. However, Ceres is still here in Scorpio. Okay, now we had the Sun-Mars occultation, which is a new Mars synodic cycle as well. Mars is still invisible. I've mentioned this many, many times. Mercury has moved on into Sagittarius. And the Sun, in a few days' time, will also move into Sagittarius, and then Mars will follow, and then Ceres will follow. So we'll transition into the Sagittarius season, if you like, which I guess I'll come back and talk about that separately. My main focus today really is on Pallas Athena. I'm just going to close this door. Because Pallas Athena is the goddess. There's a few different layers, depends how you want to look at it, but let's just say from the point of view of the Venus morning star, which is, here is Venus in Libra, and she will catch up to the South Node, which I think is going to be an important passage as well. Now, in August, Venus was reborn as a morning star in Leo, and she remains a morning star until June of 2024, where she will then transition into the evening star. And that cycle is there all the time. Every 9 months or so, she changes from morning star to evening star, morning star to evening star. That cycle never changes, the order, the sequence, and so on and so forth. But when we have Venus operating as a morning star, she corresponds to the warrior goddess Pallas Athena. Now, although we are looking at the asteroid Pallas Athena here, this is an asteroid unto its own self, in its own right, in an astronomical sense and an astrological sense. So Pallas Athena moving around the zodiac is the asteroid moving throughout the zodiac. However, like I said, because the evening star and morning star Venus, those two Venus cycles speak to very different manifestations or characteristics or expressions of Venus as a morning star or an evening star. There's the astronomical component, meaning that when she's a morning star, we see her rising on the eastern horizon every morning for quite some time till eventually she gets further and further away and fades out, as it were, because then she basically goes through this inward, deep kind of journey to transition into her evening star phase. It's a whole astronomical phenomena as it is an astrological phenomena. So whilst Venus is a morning star, her primary deity corresponds to Pallas Athena. Pallas Athena is the female deity patron of the state of Athens of Greece, right? So she has a whole story and history and culture and mythology unto herself, but very simply put, she is a warrior goddess, and she is the daughter of Zeus, which is Jupiter. And she was born out of his head, a virgin born out of his head, basically. She will come into an opposition with Jupiter, but I'll get to that in a moment. So if Venus as morning star corresponds to Pallas Athena, which she does as her primary deity to describe the attributes of the morning star, then for that reason, it is important to pay attention to, as Venus is traversing through the zodiac as a morning star, well, what is Pallas Athena doing in the heavens as well? As above, so below. She's just been through the sign of Libra for the last couple of months. That has been throughout the very tragic circumstances of what's taking place in the Middle East. Frankly, it just highlighted the injustices, really, because, I mean, Libra is about justice, fairness, equality, balance, and peace. But like I've said numerous times, never assume that when something is in Libra, that it automatically will be that things will be just, fair, equal, and peaceful. In fact, in many situations, if not most, perhaps the first thing that arises out of a planet moving through Libra is the highlighting of actually what is imbalanced and what is unfair and what isn't equal and where there isn't justice. Because the archetype of Libra in the zodiac speaks to how we will cultivate, integrate, and strive towards harmony, peace, balance, justice, fairness, equality. It doesn't mean that we automatically are that. It's an integration. It's an evolutionary process. So I think Pallas Athena in Libra has just really highlighted the sheer imbalances and injustices that are actually occurring. Now, those things are occurring worldwide, all over the place, in many different corners of the earth, on many different levels, politically and otherwise. It's not a new phenomena on the earth plane. It's been going on for thousands of years, really. Point being, however, whilst we are experiencing a war on the earth plane and the morning star is active, Venus, morning star is associated to war. She's the warrior goddess, war goddess. In Babylonian astrology, she corresponds to being the deity of the city called Akkad in Mesopotamia, Babylonian times, or in Babylonian Mesopotamian times. And she's a goddess who is triumph and victorious, and a very effective, strategic, powerful goddess. This is Venus's morning star. And when Venus is active on the wheel as a morning star, which is basically Venus retrograde, by the way, it seems to align with earthly matters in a multiple level of ways, of course, because we don't have wars every 18, 19 months or so, do we? Imagine if we did, that would be, I don't think we'd be here. But the point is that the warrior goddess morning star she does animate things on the earth plane. Things get very animated and dynamic, and that's when a lot of external things shift and change, for better or for worse. So Pallas Athena, being, as I said, the primary deity connecting to the Venus morning star, having just gone through Libra, and in my opinion, just highlighting the injustices that are actually occurring. I guess perhaps one positive thing that I see that has come out of that, I think, is the level of unison of souls on the planet coming together, strongly opposing the actions that are taking place in the Middle East, including hundreds and thousands of Jewish people actually protesting with Palestinians. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's actually happening. So it's it's a very complicated subject, obviously, and there's lots of different levels and layers to it. And there's lots of different groups that identify with something very specific as well. But for the most part, what we seem to be seeing is millions of people collectively, universally, actually coming together, projecting their voices very strongly to call for justice, which is obviously something that hasn't quite happened yet, but let's see what does happen. So that's probably the positive thing, just the unity that I've witnessed through lots of different videos I've seen, which just about all of them do not get played on mainstream television, mainstream news, mainstream newspapers. This is all coming from social media platforms, a lot of them which are not mainstream. You even get a lot of this content on mainstream social media, such as Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, etc. I would consider those platforms mainstream. There's a lot of others like Rumble and some other networks that are completely free of any censoring, for instance. So you get to see a lot of material and videos that come through various sources that you otherwise wouldn't. And of course, within that context, we're also seeing incredible deception, fake videos being made. There's a fake video being made of a nurse acting as a Palestinian nurse in a hospital, and as it turns out, she's an actress from Israel. Now, all the evidence seems to be pointing that that video was fake and that she is an actress. I could be wrong. I don't have the actual, I wasn't there. I didn't see her, so I could be wrong. But from what I've seen, that's where the evidence is going. And I mentioned when there was a Sun-Mars conjunction, the occultation of Mars and Mars being invisible, that things will slowly start being revealed. And this will happen a lot more when Mars becomes visible in January of 2024. So let's see. But for the moment, anyway, we are dealing with Pallas Athena in Scorpio, and she will actually be in Scorpio until around about the 7th of February next year. And Venus, of course, will still be a morning star. So we've still got lots and lots to see. Regarding this particular situation in the Middle East. And I think Pallas Athena in Scorpio, I wrote a little post and I put it on the community section in YouTube and on Facebook, and I was just simply saying that one of the things that most people don't know about Pallas Athena is that she is the goddess that removes all projections that we ourselves hold, and then subsequently project onto anything or anybody, the world or narratives or whatever. So she removes these false projections, basically, because she corresponds to clear seeing. Clear seeing is a term that in this context really describes, because she is the goddess of wisdom. She's not only a goddess of strategy and skills and war and fighting and being victorious and triumph in her battles and so forth, which she is exceptional at all of those things. She's also a goddess that holds incredible wisdom, incredibly deep insight. And that component to this archetype, her level of wisdom and insight, she also brings forth into the situations that she is strategizing in order to be triumph, to be victorious. So it's not like she just goes in there and handles the situation with complete impulse and doesn't think about what she's doing. She's a very, very, very strategic goddess. And she's with that wisdom and deep insight that she has, that informs her in her choices relative to the strategies that she will employ regarding any situation that she is dealing with. So in Scorpio, what we're going to see is a goddess that corresponds to wisdom, exceptional strategic skills in conflict and war, through the archetype of Scorpio. And what's the one thing that Scorpio does? It does many things, but one of the things it does is it has X-ray vision. It zooms in like the eagle eye. Scorpio has 4 different totems associated to it. One of them is the eagle. Now, the eagle, the actual bird itself, is known to have this incredible vision as it flies through the sky. So Pallas Athena in Scorpio is going to dive into very deep territory with strategy, with skill, with insight, with wisdom, to do a couple of things, I'd say. First of all, to expose what's been hidden and concealed, deliberately fabricated, created through propaganda, purposeful deception and lies, manipulation. All that stuff will actually be exposed with Pallas Athena in Scorpio to some extent. And that is, if that happens, that's going to be a game changer with perhaps a lot of people's perceptions, limited or narrow perception or biased perception, or what's the other word? Just forgotten the other word. Biased, and it'll come to me. I'll just keep going and perhaps it'll come to my mind. It's not ignorance, it's another word. Sorry, I'm just trying to find that word because it's just such a good word to describe what's been going on. But anyway, I think Pallas's journey over the next couple of months, because she will be there throughout the rest of November, all of December, all of January, and the first week of February. It's quite a while where she will be, just unraveling, unfolding, revealing what's sort of been deliberately withheld, let's say. So I'm very curious to observe this asteroid over the next couple of months. Now, admittedly, Pallas Athena, when you are just observing her unto herself as an asteroid without taking into consideration Venus as a morning star, without having the understanding that Pallas Athena is actually the deity for Venus, morning star, and so forth. The asteroid Pallas Athena transiting through the chart, through your own chart, for instance, you know, you might not notice too much. Actually, she can be quite an obscure goddess sometimes. Not one of the more obvious ones, right? But when you put her into the context of she, at the moment, the wherever she is anyway, but she is in Scorpio, this journey she's just made through Libra and about to make in Scorpio is happening whilst Venus is a morning star. So the matters that Pallas Athena will be exposing and digging up are all connected to what Venus is essentially trying to deal with on the earth plane at the moment. So if you just looked at Pallas Athena alone, in other words, is what I'm trying to say, you might not notice too much as she moves around your chart. You might or you might not. I guess from that personal perspective, it would be about, first of all, understanding where is Pallas Athena in your own chart. Are you a Venus morning star? Because if you're a Venus morning star, then Pallas Athena, the asteroid as well, you know, is her placement and your Venus star point placement could be either aligned together or having some kind of relationship or just connecting in some kind of way. But they're important to understand sort of together, as it were, even though they're separate bodies, right? So that's kind of a separate subject, but really what I'm trying to illustrate there is that sometimes transiting Pallas Athena, you don't notice a great deal going on. But I think that at the moment, because of what is going on the earth plane, which is beyond horrific, and Venus is the morning star, I think Pallas Athena's movement here is, yeah, just very, very significant. So let's just see when she catches up to Jupiter. It's going to be a little while. Well, Jupiter's gone retrograde. Okay. So not that long. So about the 5th of December, you can see there Pallas Athena is 6 degrees and Jupiter is 6 degrees, right? Taurus, Scorpio. They're opposite each other. I'm very curious to see what that will be, if anything at all. And look at that, Venus has just gone into Scorpio as well. So that's going to be very, very interesting when Venus catches up to Pallas Athena in Scorpio. See when that happens. So December is going to be quite an interesting month from the point of view of these feminine deities, Venus morning star and Pallas Athena, which basically describes what the Venus morning star is all about. And here they are lining up together. That is very, very, very interesting in Scorpio. I'm guessing that the first couple of weeks of December there are going to be very interesting because Pallas will first oppose Jupiter, which is her father. She was born out of his head. And then she's going to form a conjunction to Venus, and she corresponds to Venus morning star. They're like the same thing, as it were. And here they are meeting up in Scorpio, which is an archetype that corresponds to, of course, transformation, transmutation, death, rebirth, exposing what has been hidden, exposing what has been hidden. Some uncomfortable things, truths perhaps, will come to light at this time. Given that she's going to be opposite her dad, there's something very interesting taking place there. And Jupiter's in Taurus and Scorpio. very much has to do with land, and possessions, land, money, attachment, Taurus and Scorpio, the way in which we have to release and let go of certain attachments and so forth. But this is something that, I mean, that's just a general description, of Taurus Scorpio polarity in a very simple manner. But something's going to come to light here, because oppositions basically, initially they can be seen or experienced or projected as a polarized force or energy. But ultimately, oppositions bring about awareness. They bring about the ability to see something that we couldn't see before. And now we see it in full view. The opposition is the same as what a full moon is. What does a full moon do? It brings light. It brings awareness. So here they are, meeting up in this opposition, I think, and that happened earlier in December, about 5th, 6th of December. Perhaps something's going to really come to light at that time, because Pallas is in Scorpio, so she's going to uncover the depths of things, and she's going to reveal what's been hidden. And both Pallas and Jupiter correspond to wisdom and insight, right? Jupiter is the god of wisdom, and she is the goddess of wisdom. So here they are coming into an opposition together, hopefully bringing through some wisdom and insight and awareness and clear seeing, Pallas Athena, that will be helpful for the planet, for the collective. I'm hoping that that's what it's going to be. Because Jupiter is not a malefic, it's a benefic planet. Maybe this will be a really helpful seeing of things. When things are hidden and concealed and deliberately fabricated and whatever, creates a particular narrative, a particular energy, a particular way in which people will follow things, and so on and so forth. And when things are revealed and people can see things clearly, then different decisions can be made, different courses of action can be taken, right? So things can change. When something is illuminated, which means we are aware of something that we couldn't see previously, it is because of that awareness, because we're able to see something that we couldn't see before, that can lead to very specific choices and actions and decisions. That's why a full moon, and I've said this many times before, because many people have the misconception that you never start something new at a full moon, which is actually an absurd idea. But a lot of people have that perception, because the understanding is you always start something at the new moon. Yes, absolutely you do. But you can also start something at the full moon. And that's simply because at the full moon, you now have this clear vision, this awareness, this insight, this illumination. So now you're very well equipped, informed to make a decision, because you can fucking see what the fuck's going on, if I can just put it so bluntly and, to the point. So an opposition can illuminate many, many different things that can subsequently bring forth the necessary action, decisions, and actions, right? So that's that could be a good thing. What else did I want to say there? So Ceres has well and truly moved into Sag, which is good. Ceres in Scorpio has been one of the most difficult Ceres in Scorpios that I've seen in my lifetime anyway. Because Ceres in Scorpio has absolutely, without, beyond a shadow of a doubt, has been 100% connected to the loss and grief and death that's taken place in the Middle East. That's what Ceres in Scorpio has been all about. Now, Ceres in Sagittarius is going to be a different story and not as dark, that's for sure, but it'll be around religious matters, faith, religion, belief, righteousness. You know, the arrogant side of Sagittarius is that, you know, my truth is the only truth, and my religion is the only way to God, and we are the chosen people, and everybody else is going to hell. That's the ignorant, arrogant side to Sag. So, because the truth is, there's only one source. We all come from that same source, and we all return to that source. But it takes a lot of consciousness to understand that. It's one thing to hear it and absorb it on a psychological level, and it's another thing to deeply understand that. Because that's the word I was thinking. Thank you, universe. Just brought it back into my mind. Being biased. Was it being biased? No, not biased. I said that before. Prejudice. Thank you. Just came back to me. Prejudice. Prejudices. So do you know what the word prejudice actually means? It literally means to prejudge, meaning judging something before you even understand it or know anything about it. That's what prejudice actually means. So anyway, Ceres in Sage, I think that's going to bring some matters that are not going to be happy, not easy around religious issues. Perhaps I'll come and speak to that later. I don't know. I'll see. But that's, you know, I'll be willing to put money on that's what it's going to bring up. But anyway, going back to the main focus for today, which is Pallas Athena, I think we can expect to gain a lot more insight and understanding into what the hell has been going on since October 7th. Now, the truth of the matter is that this situation did not start October 7th. It's just this phase of it has exploded October 7th. These matters have been going on for decades in one way or another. And I think the level of exposure that's happening and that's further going to take place is just basically the necessary level of things that need to be seen from a collective position so that there can be a significant change to many people's lives moving forward after the horror and atrocities. It's yes, it's deeply, deeply disturbing. Deeply disturbing. I've seen footage of a father pulling out his child from rubble where there was a bomb explosion that happened, and the kid's leg, and I'm talking like a 5-year-old child, the kid's leg has been severed because the father's trying to pull him from out under a rock, and it was either leave him there to die or pull him out and have that leg severed. Well, this is a 5-year-old child. You know, we see things like this in horror movies. Imagine if that was you and that was your child. I've seen videos of hundreds of babies being wrapped up in a white piece of cloth. I'm talking infants that were in incubators and so on and so forth, that died because they didn't have the adequate medical supply to sustain them. That is inhumane. And it doesn't matter what you believe and what you don't believe. This is a matter of humanity. If people are so blinded by their belief on what God is or isn't, or whose land is whose and whose land belongs here and doesn't belong there, if that level of attachment and identity is louder and bigger than your humanity, then this world is in deep fucking trouble. Deep, deep, deep trouble. If you can watch a video like that and not be touched by it, then you've lost your humanity, sadly. And I'm not afraid to speak on the truth. You know, it may cause me to lose some followers. I don't care. I've never been an individual or an astrologer that does something in order to get more likes or more attention or more this or more that. Because I can tell you now, if I did, my YouTube channel would be structured in a very different way to what it has been. And those of you that follow me, I'm sure, do know this. Fairness, equality, and justice, humanity, are things that I take very, very seriously. Got a lot of Aquarius in my chart. Moon in Aquarius, Aquarius ascendant. It's just natural within me to actually give a fuck about the world and humanity. I just cannot help it. So it doesn't matter, like if what I'm discussing, if this was happening to people in Australia, if this was happening to people in Greece, if this was happening to people in Africa, which it has happened in one way or another at lots of different places on the earth plane, for sure, absolutely. But at the moment, it's happening where it's happening. So my focus is there. If this, I wouldn't care which group of people it's happening to, I would speak up. Because it's an issue of humanity. That's what the issue is. It's about humanity, not about religion or politics or ownership. But, you know, if most people thought like that, these things wouldn't even be occurring. They are occurring because most people do not think like that, sadly. So anyway, on that note, just seeing what's going on here. So Pluto is, oops, oh. Today's chart, Pluto sextile Sun, Pluto sextile Mars. It's only there for a day. I mean, you know, when it comes to little mini transits like that, which are just there for a day or so, sometimes they can be quite important. Other times they just go by without you noticing anything at all. So I feel like it's too much to just come back and talk about, you know, every single transit that's happening every single day. It's just, yeah, it's a bit too much Gemini for me. If you know, that's not to say that you it wouldn't be good for you to be looking at these things yourself. Yeah, sure, absolutely. You know, it's always great to just check out where things are moving through your own chart. But it's never going to be, you know, just one thing that's transiting in your chart that's going to validate, you know, some big shift or some major significant event. It's going to be a number of things taking place that all just happen to line up at the same time. That's how it works. It's it's just something that you learn to understand the more you obviously study and practice astrology. And I've been doing that for a very long time. So I'm not speaking through my own personal opinion. I'm speaking objectively through the eyes of observation and correlation, and what happens when these planets are moving through the signs in our chart and so forth. So yeah, a Pluto-Mars sextile and a Sun-Pluto sextile, that's a lovely aspect, actually. That can be very energizing. That can be many different things. It just depends on where this stuff is moving through in your chart. And of course, your personal circumstances. But again, like I said, a transit that's just there for about a day or so, where there's nothing else really matching it at the moment. I just don't see much point in, making some sort of forecast or prediction about it. I speak about things, naturally I speak about the new moon, full moon, and so forth. They're very important cycles. And usually I speak about a planet that when it ingresses into a sign, for instance, and things like that, because that's not a one-day transit. It's usually there, the planet, depending on its, how fast it moves, etc. It'll be there for a month or 2 or 3 or 4, whatever it is, right? So I like to look at things that are in play for longer than a day, in other words. Okay, so yeah, Pallas Athena will also oppose Uranus. That will be later in December, I'm guessing. Yeah, so December is looking quite interesting. Think about, what we've seen with Ceres, Sun, Mars all passing over the oppositions to Uranus and Jupiter. Unfortunately, from that narrative of that part of the world that's in crisis, severe crisis, it hasn't been a good thing at all. It's been horrific. On the other hand, if we're going to use simple language like good or not so good, perhaps some of the things that have been good, like I mentioned before, are just the level of unison that seems to be coming out of this situation, bringing people together. That's always a good thing. And it usually does take a crisis for things to change in a very dramatic way, in a very significant way, in a completely different way, because nothing changes when things are hidden and people are just going on with their business, going on with their days. If nothing's happening, things don't change. These people in Palestine have been living in these conditions which are basically barbaric, right? For decades, right? And the world just hasn't given a shit about them. No one's given a shit about what they've been through, what's going on with them. They can't walk on a certain road, on a certain street. They can't exit this. They can't exit that. They can't have access to this. They can't have access to that. They are watched 24/7 in their homes. I mean, come on, seriously. In what right, just, fair world does that kind of thing even exist? Well, it does. It exists on this earth plane. And that needs to change. That needs to shift. So perhaps a lot of this has got to do with the fact that because of the level of exposure that's happening and that will be happening, maybe some things will finally change on that part of the globe for those particular people. And like I said before, it wouldn't matter which group of people and which part of the earth it was happening to, I would be speaking to it in the same way, because it is about humanity, period. So Pallas Athena will oppose Uranus, but it's not going to be the same level of dynamic intensity, power, action, drama, violence, and stuff like that, as it was when the Sun-Mars series passed the opposition to Uranus and Jupiter. Having said that, though, maybe that's not true, because she is the goddess that corresponds to being a warrior goddess, and she is the deity that corresponds to Venus Morningstar. So maybe there will be some things that happen, but hopefully the things that happen will bring about some liberation, Uranus, some clear seeing, wisdom that can somehow bring further truth, liberation, and freedom to the oppression of many, many things and many, many people. Let's hope so. Okay, I'm going to leave it here, guys, and I will see you soon with more. Sending you all much love. Bye for now.